Okay, we are now live and recording again, so with that, I will call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. We have one subdivision that was held over from our last planning meeting at the end of May, and that is subdivision file S19-2836. And as this is a continuation, there's no need for a resolution to move into a public hearing. So Cowan, if you could, please.
Yes, the item that is coming back from May 26th council meeting is located at 80072 St. Peter's Road. This was to subdivide the subject property located on St. Peter's Road into 4 parcels as per their subdivision application map that was presented at the last council meeting. The properties are zoned agricultural restricted on the west portion, as well as agricultural limited on the east portion, and it's sort of highlighted in black on this map. And so the property does extend over St. Peter's Road. This was the applicant's site plan that we had presented to council, and there was discussion from the last council meeting about the applicant potentially increasing the width of proposed lot 1, just to give it a little bit more width. The applicant did actually, after that meeting, went back to the surveyor and presented this drawing to us. I believe council does have that drawing from administration.
Yes.
But I have it here up on the slide here. And so they've increased it approximately about 23 feet. The intent of the subdivision still stays the same though. They're still proposing 4 lots, 2 of them on the other side, which is in the resource agricultural designated areas, and then 2 of them in the agricultural restricted areas. Our report remains the same, the recommendation remains the same. It's just that we included a condition if council does decide to approve this subdivision. Again, from the Red River Planning Office, from a policy perspective, could not recommend approval of the subdivision, and we had presented that on the last meeting as well. But council did ask the applicant to see what a width requirement, I believe that was from planning, and he had presented this as an option, so he did offer a little bit more width, but it doesn't change any of the policy that you need to adhere to from our development plan and the zoning bylaw. At this point, I'll just leave it up to council if they have any further questions regarding this revised SAM or anything in the report.
Okay, thank you for that, Cowan. I'm going to open it up. Do any members of council have any questions to the planner at this point in time? We do have the new sketch in front of us that shows that the road going to the back is wider than on the original plan. As the planner said, it really doesn't change the intent of the application. I know that is something that we talked about, but I'm not sure, Cowan, if you could answer this question, or perhaps Derek is in the audience this evening also. I know that we've had some discussion around the table here about flag-shaped lots, and I guess none of us could remember the last time that we created a flag-shaped lot in the municipality. Would either of you have any idea? I think one of the councillors said for as long as he's been around, we haven't had any like that, so.
No, ma'am, I can't recall the last time St. Clements approved a flag shape or panhandle lot. We generally try and avoid those, or request the council avoid them, just because from my experience, they end up being an administrative problem into the future. Usually ends up between conflicts in between neighbors of where exactly are property lines, because obviously it's a little more difficult than if you have just a regular old rectangular lot. But there are some situations, I know in river lots in not your municipality, but in East St. Paul, where they have approved those just simply because there isn't anything, other options that you can do. But no, I can't recall. It's been not in the last almost 10 years that I've been here. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Corvus.
So the 75-foot allowance there, that's property to that type of that there. That's never going to be a municipal road. The municipality doesn't go down there, it doesn't do nothing down there. It's all off of 508.
It's like a private drive.
Okay, that's good. That's all.
It's like a private driveway. So, go ahead, Colin.
Sorry, just a 73, just so the council.
Oh, 73,
Yeah.
yeah, not, yes, rather than 75.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I guess, there are a few things, and I know that council will be making a decision on this one this evening, and as the planner has said in our last meeting, agriculture did have some concerns with the parcels on the west side, east side of 508, on the east side. And I know that in a lot of the areas that we talk about, agriculture has difficulty with taking agricultural land and making it into a homestead or a parcel of land where there's going to be a house. So I think that council has to think about this one, because I know that, the person that farms your land did submit a letter saying that there was no problem with you subdividing it. When it comes down to it, it's really the province that's gonna say, like, we're not gonna, if we approve it here, they probably will say we're not gonna allow it to go through at planning at that point in time, or if it gets past planning, the province can appeal it to say that they don't want it to go into residential lots, they want to leave it as commercial, or agricultural land. So I'm not sure. Councillor Belanger.
Just a question, if lot one, because of being a flagship, doesn't get approved, does the entire thing get not approved, even the ones on the east side of the road, lots 3 and 4? Or?
Yes, well, that would be the case, because they're all included in the
Okay.
resolution, and if we were to say that we didn't want to have the flag-shaped lot, but we were okay with the others, I believe that it may have to be recirculated to the government agencies. Is that correct, Colin?
In this case, probably no,
Okay.
because we're reducing the number of intensity. Derek, is that, I believe that's correct?
That'd be correct. Council could make a decision to approve this outright, to reject it outright, or to approve it in parts. So if you're okay with some of the lots being proposed but not others, you can make a resolution to that regard. You are not allowed to approve 5 or 6 lots in this case. You're not allowed to go beyond the intensity that one has been proposed. But you
Right.
can just approve certain lots if that's the will of council.
Yeah. And Barry, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, as what was mentioned, I apologize, I don't remember your names. He mentioned that there was flagship lots approved, with knowing that there's no possible neighbor beside complaining about where property lines and all that stuff. What's next to north of our property of that 73 feet is provincial land, and there's absolutely no possibility of anybody building or us having neighbors north of us, so that we would never have any issues with property lines or anything with respect to that driveway area of the 75 feet.
Well, I believe that it was in your original application or your letter of intent that the lots that you're creating are for members of your family.
That's correct.
Now, what happens, and I'm just gonna throw it out there, say on lot one of your children decided to build there and live there for a couple of years and decided to relocate,
Okay.
and an outside person purchases it. Like, there could be grief caused at that point in time as to where the property lines are. There's lots of things that can come into it. And as was said, like, we haven't approved any flag-shaped lots in our municipality for a number of years. Like, I can't even remember the last one.
It's
that we
over
did.
20.
I know that we have them, and they've probably been in existence for 40-some years, but, as Councillor Bazarowicz says, he's been around for about 20 years, and he doesn't ever recall one of these type of subdivisions coming before us. So-
There's one just south of my lot, which is the exact same square footage in the 73 feet. That's where we got the 73 feet.
And whose property would that be?
I don't know the fellow's name, but you can see it on the west side. It's that strip of bush that goes back to that flag shed, further back from my property.
Two over from where you are, or the one right next to you?
Not the one right next to me, but there's a strip of land where that bush strip is.
Right,
That's a flag lot going to the back of my property.
kind of mirroring your property.
If I had does anybody have a laser by chance?
I think you're referring to this one?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair.
So, yeah, that's a long driveway going to that property back there.
Okay, this one doesn't have a battery. Okay, any other questions for the planner, or, go ahead, Councillor Vazarowicz.
You had mentioned that we haven't seen one of these come before us. Just a correction, I've seen about 10 or 12 come before us.
Okay,
It's, but we've never
Approved.
approved any.
okay.
What's the government land there? Where's that, what is it?
That's part of Highway 4.
Number 4 highway.
Number 4. Yeah, see, Mitchell Trunk Highway is right there, that's, they own all, the province owns all the land from your property line right to the highway,
That's
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that I've surveyed this property now 3 different times. The first time when the municipality allowed me to add extra land to the east side of the property. The first time when I built the house, the second time is when you guys allowed me that extra property to have acreage on the east side of 508. And the third time was when we acquired the property from the government to get those accesses back so we could have access to the back part of our lot on the west side and farm access on the east side of 508. So if you were to approve this subdivision, I'd be surveying this land now 4 times, which is a big cost.
Okay, questions or comments? What is the wish of council? Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
I have no problems with lots 3, 4, and 2, but not 1. Like, I'd move it, I'd have no problem looking at this, moving forward with it if it excluded the flag shape. As there's enough, we've talked enough about the flag shape lot as to why we don't
So
move
you,
on or go
right,
forward.
so you would support a 3-lot
I
subdivision
would,
with
that-
1 lot west of 508 and the 2
Yeah.
lots as proposed on this drawing on the east side of 508?
Which is why I asked the question if that was allowable.
Right. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I just think if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
I just think it's a compromise. I think that, you know, the developer might not be getting everything he wants, but I'd hate to see somebody with nothing.
Yes, and there's still no guarantee because
Yeah,
the
exactly.
comments from agriculture on the original application and the way it was proposed is they would not support, they did not want that turned into residential lots. So, Cowan, anything that you wanted to add?
Well, one thing, Madam Mayor, is, I know the councillor mentioned, sorry, it was proposed lot 1 that you have, number 1 is the flagship one.
Yeah.
Like, so if council decides not to include proposed lot 1, that does bring, obviously that would be one big lot of that side. It does
Right.
bring that lot into conformance. It would be 4 acres, it would meet the width, it would meet the agricultural restricted policies.
Okay.
On the other side, obviously, again, it's just a policy perspective, because those are agricultural limited, zoning, as well as resource agricultural designations.
Right,
So those are, they wouldn't meet any requirements. But if the applicant in this sense is like splitting, obviously, one portion of the one portion of the property on the east and the west, if you do the 2-lot subdivision, there are policies that support the spirit of that, because the resource agricultural policies talk about when there's a major transportation corridor that separates 2 parcels.
right.
So I can see our office changing our stance on a 2-lot subdivision. However, you know, I understand what council are saying as well, about number of lots that are being created, and that's something council should weigh in. But there would be, and I did have a discussion with agriculture, and they had no problem with a 1 and a 2, splitting one from the other portion to the east and west. It's just that it's 3 and 4 are still not going to be in compliance, and it really doesn't meet any policies unless you're splitting it off from the road. So that's
Okay,
just
so
that.
really, basically what you've said then is in your discussion with agriculture, they're okay with the 2 lots on the west side of 508?
They really didn't have too many questions on the west side of 508, but
Right.
they were more concerned about 3 and 4. That's where their comments were. However, they understand it would make sense if the applicant was splitting, you know, the west and the east, because there's policy that sort of support that spirit of that language and they're 2 different zoning, so it does make sense to have them as 2 parcels, but that's not what the applicant obviously wants to go
Right, so
for.
basically what they've said, if you were using 508 as the dividing line, agriculture would be okay with 1 lot east of 508 and 1 lot west of 508.
Correct.
They wouldn't have any issues.
They mentioned they wouldn't have no issues, but they really have issues, mainly the 2 that are being created on the
East side.
east side, yeah. And I called them this week to confirm that, and said that was our main concern. I
Right,
did say if council wanted to look at splitting it as 1 and 2,
right.
they said we don't really have any concerns on that makes sense, but we understand it's still undersized. Obviously, we can't put any consolidation requirements to other lands, and things
Right.
like that, but,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that council wants to factor that information in or not.
Any other questions or comments from council? How would you like to proceed with this? Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Could we ask the applicant if he would be okay? And I understand what Mr. Planner is saying. I'm of the mindset that I'd like to know what the applicant would think of if 3 and 4, if council so chose to move forward with 3 and 4. Would he still proceed, or would he say, no, I'm done?
Mr. Yuski, what is your thought on that? Like if we were to leave everything on the west side of 508 as 1 parcel, but still gave you the 2 parcels on the east side?
I believe, I agree with Paul, and with agriculture, they would have issues with that. If it was be possible, if council would consider making the east side just 1 lot instead of 2, then agriculture will comply. I'll be complying with agriculture as per history. And if I can get 2 lots on the east side with that flag, then that would work.
2 lots on the west side with the
Yeah.
flag.
That's right. I would be losing a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but if for information for council, I purchased another piece of property right next to my boundary line on the west side of 508.
Okay,
Okay, right next to my boundary there of my homestead.
okay.
And if you will allow me to make 3 lots out of that, I could change property title for my other child for the property I just purchased to the south of me. So I would still have enough property for each child to have a lot.
Great, but I think council has a bit of difficulty with the flag-shaped lot, because we haven't had any for so many years. Go ahead, Councillor
And I was
Belanger.
just going to say that what the applicant suggested is that we allow on the west side of the road the 2 lots, and he used the word with the flag, and we've already indicated that's not going to happen.
Right, yeah, so what is the will? Approve it 1 lot on each side of 508?
I'm good with that.
Or that would, I guess that would comply with what agriculture is looking for. And then there would just be the 1 lot on the west side.
Homestead.
The homestead, that's right, yes. So, I know, Barry, that's not exactly what you want, but I think in order to move it forward, that might be the way we have to go with it. You'll satisfy agriculture with just the one lot on the east side, and then you'll have the one lot on the west side. If council is willing to go that way and support that, we'll have to get the resolution reworded, because I don't believe that that's how it is worded. So what is the will? Go ahead, Barry.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
Could we try to get 2 lots on the east side of 508?
On the east side, so you want to go with the 2 lots on the east side and the 1 lot on where your
Yes.
homestead
That's
is? And if agriculture toasts it? Go ahead, Rob.
Madam Chair, could we not suggest to the applicant what we have in the past, not a lot in the past, but in terms of moving forward with the 2 lots on the east side of 508, but the applicant write a letter to agriculture indicating why he feels 2 lots would work there, kind of just, you know, looking at agriculture's reasons and saying, look, you know, giving his explanation, maybe some detail, maybe some soil samples, something, just to go with to agriculture to indicate the landowner's perspective as to why he feels 2 lots are workable. I don't know, just, it could be another tool for the applicant to use. I'm not sure if that's right or wrong.
Well, I think the applicant has that ability to approach agriculture. I guess I'm going to say that because the property is being farmed presently, I think if you put soil samples in there, I don't know that that would fly with agriculture. So it's, as it's presently being farmed, so
Well, it's not being farmed.
it's not being farmed. Oh, I thought you said that the gentleman at the last meeting, the gentleman that was farming it, provided you with a letter saying that it was okay that you split that in 2.
But that's never been a farm. It's just.
It's
been-
farmland.
It's farmland, but
Yes.
it's not farm.
Right, it's not a farm per se, it's farmland that has been used for agricultural purposes in the past, and still is, if I understand correctly, or is he not farming it now?
No,
No.
it's not.
Okay. Okay, I'm just reading the resolution here. Go ahead, Councillor Horbus.
So, I'm just, want to get this straight. So this big piece here, where there's a building on it already, this is
Right.
on the east side?
No, that's on the west side of 508.
On the riverside.
It's on the river
The
side.
flag side is on the riverside.
Right,
Okay. So that's the side he wants the road on. So he's asking to split that in half?
no,
Well, didn't you say to make 2 out of that,
On
or
the east
on
side.
the east side.
on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 and 4, or 3 and 4.
There's a dotted line in the middle of that section.
Proposed
Yeah,
development
yeah.
Right there, yeah.
Okay,
And that's on
I'm
the east side of 508.
Okay, I thought it was the other way around, I'm
No.
sorry. Okay.
Okay. So, go ahead, Councillor
I
Sutherland.
just, thank you, I think we should at least let them try it, see what agriculture says with the 2 lots on the east side.
Right.
Forget the flag shape that's out and try for the 2 lots at the east side, the way you have it here.
What about the other lot that he bought there now? Would that help with all this? But then you have to reapply for
So
all
he'd
this on the other
have to,
side.
he'd have to reapply, he'd have to redraw everything. Paula, did you have something you wanted to add in?
No,
Okay.
That's a question.
Okay, Sandra, anything? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Heather, have you had an opportunity to reword that resolution? I know that, I guess because we didn't close the public hearing, I'll have to close the public hearing today, or did we actually close it with just no decision last time?
No, you'd have to close the hearing and
Okay. Okay, so Heather, are you looking at rewording that resolution a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
go ahead, Jared.
the resolution doesn't necessarily have to change what council's saying. It can just be another condition of approval.
Okay.
So it could be, I believe you have 5 conditions. You could approve this subject to a sixth condition that the applicant revise the layout to allow 2 lots on the east side of PR 508 and 1 lot on the west side.
Okay,
That can also be done, yeah.
Right, the only reason I'm kind of looking at it is because I believe that the resolution was already reworded to the effect that I'm just trying to find it here, right here. That the applicant owner, we have to take out what is now condition 6, which is the 73-foot minimum for the flagship
Oh, I
lot.
see.
Yeah, so that 7 would have to come out. Barry, just bear with us for a couple of minutes here while that resolution gets reworded. Go ahead, Councillor
Just a-
Sutherland.
Question here, I think I know the answer, but if the applicant were to, if there was a driveway off of number 4, but you'd have to get permission, it would work. That would work, but that would be a solution, I make. Instead of the flag shape, you just forget the flag shaped lot and you change the boundaries, and if you could,
Ask permission from highways to
Good,
go through their
permission to
property.
either driveway off of number 4, which I highly doubt. Well, I just,
Yeah.
Expensive driveway.
Go ahead, Mr. Administrator.
Just to be clear, a driveway off of the highway would still, if it was considered as a private road, it's still a private road. It has to be a public road
Right.
as an access point. Otherwise, it's still part of it still turns it into a flag lot because it's a private road access.
They couldn't share a driveway of mine to our property, like if we didn't have a strip.
Well,
No.
Still
No.
flag. You'd
no.
have to have access right off of 4.
Yeah.
Closest thing we could do there is a grandfather, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, that might work that way, and
Part
that's
of the last
Oh, wow.
condition.
granny flat or a secondary dwelling at the back of the property, having access through yours, and that's something you might want to
But
talk
doesn't it
to.
have to be on your same piece of property,
Right,
right?
yes.
Yeah, it wouldn't be subdivided.
No, it wouldn't be
Right, one
subdivided, it
lot.
would be one big parcel of land.
And there's no way that you could, that's one title.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, this way, if agriculture doesn't object to the 2 lots on the east side of 508, then he would end up with 3 titles, one for his home place and one for each of the lots that are being created.
Do you want the whole resolution read, or just we took out 6 and added 6?
Okay, you have to, I think because we don't all have it in front of us, if you wouldn't mind reading the whole thing, and then, first of all, though, we'll have to close the public hearing.
Oh, yes.
We didn't really open it, it was kind of a continuation from last time. So I think the resolution should read that way too, that we're going to close the public hearing, which was adjourned at a previous meeting. Okay, so I'll let you work on that one.
I'll fix that one later, but
Okay.
we're closing the public hearing.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn, we are going to now close, be it resolved that the public hearing be closed, which was adjourned from our May 26th meeting. So can I have a mover for that? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horwath, second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So now we will go to the resolution for subdivision file S19 2836 80072 St. Peters Road. And Heather, if you could read that whole resolution.
Yeah, it's just opening up.
Yep.
Heather, you need to shut off here?
No, because I can't project there right now anyways,
Oh,
so it's okay. Subdivision application number S192836, proposal of UCU to subdivide part of river lots 202 to 204, parish of St. Peters, including parcel B, plan 53201, and parcels A and B, plan 58250. Resolved that council approves said application subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the Armistice Implements stating the following requirements have been met. Taxes on the land be subdivided are current year and arrears have been paid. Development levy to be paid as per bylaw 14/2009. Digital copy of plan subdivision be provided to the Armistice Implements, and an engineer grading plan be prepared to indicate positive drainage on the proposed property to the satisfaction of the Armistice Implements, and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain onto or impede drainage from the neighboring properties. Condition 2, applicant owners submits written confirmation from Bell MTS that an easement agreement has been entered into with Bell MTS with respect to the existing and/or future facilities associated with the subdivision and plan of easement as required by the Property Act. Condition 3, applicant owner submits written confirmation from Manitoba Hydro that an easement agreement has been entered into with the Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and/or future facilities associated with the plan of subdivision and a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Condition 4, applicant owner obtains all required variances. Condition 5, applicant owner to submit written confirmation from Manitoba Historic Resources Branch that a heritage resource impact assessment has been completed for the planned area at their own expense, and any mitigation processes required have been completed to the satisfaction of Manitoba Historic Resources Branch. And condition 6, applicant revised subdivision application map to include homestead property on the west side of PR 508 as one lot and 2 proposed lots on the east side of PR 508.
Okay. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any questions, comments? Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I have to do this.
That's okay, Councillor Spicer, go ahead.
We had a discussion about historic resources before.
Yes, we did.
How does this keep on getting back in there?
I think that's a requirement that they've put on every subdivision that comes before, or every application that comes before them, and I was just trying to find a map. And maybe I'll just ask Mr. Yuski, how far back does the property go on the homestead side? Like how close to the river do you come there?
I would say 600 yards or so.
So,
It's not on the river.
no, it's not right on the river. So go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
He's in Manitoba.
well,
Go ahead.
As Councillor Spicer was saying, I mean, I think we've all brought this up in the past. I think it's just a cookie cutter stamp that they put on. It's not, I was thinking of that, it's not on the riverside, it's actually east and right across 508. Again, I guess we as a council are questioning historic resources as to why they want that extra, and again, we can see if it was on the riverside, and if if the subdivision was going to be butting close to the river, sure. Our history says that settlers have used that, and it's worthy of historic review.
Right.
So,
I'm just going to ask the planners, have you had any pushback from Historic Resources on a couple of those that we did take that condition out of?
I can't recall which municipalities, but this has been an issue with all of our municipalities, especially that have land along the river. And yes, there has been
Some pushback?
disappointment, I guess I can say, from Historical Resources Branch. That being said, where council has requested that not be included and the board has agreed, I still have not received an appeal from the province on that. Likewise, that if council does wish to keep this in there, the applicant also has the option to appeal that decision, and it would be appealed to the planning district. But on these types of issues, essentially, all that I would be arguing to the municipal board is that the planning district has the authority to put in these conditions, but I would be requesting that the province come to justify the reason for it. We did this recently with a hydro easement, also with St. Clements. That's the tactic. So either way, there's an option for either parties to appeal these.
Okay, what is the wish, Councillor Boulanger?
I would agree with Mr. Planner's words there, how he phrased it, and I agree. I mean, the historic branch can say they're disappointed, but come to us and tell us why you're wanting this so far away from the river. If you come up with a rational reason, our rational reason for saying we want it out is because what we're saying is it's not near the river, anywhere near the river where any historic, you know, if you can come back to us and give us a rational reason why you feel it should, then do so.
So what is the wish? Are we letting it, I've got a mover, I have a seconder. Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Madam Chair, can we ask for a friendly amendment from the mover and the seconder to remove number 5 stipulation?
Mover and seconder, are you in agreement to have a friendly amendment to have
Sure. Yes.
number 5 deleted from the resolution? So we will delete, oh, go ahead, Derek, sorry.
Just a point for council, no problems with that from the planning district.
Right.
But just as a point of clarification, removing this, it is my duty to tell the board that this condition did come up from the province and give the board the option to put it back in. So just so that there's no confusion or miscommunication, I'm not trying to disrespect the will of council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, and we've had those before, and that has been the case where, you know, you've told the board that, you know, it wasn't there, council took it out, what is the wish of the board, so.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go ahead, Councillor Vazarowicz.
Through experience, when this condition is appealed,
Yes,
what has happened in some cases is the province has looked at it and gone and done an on-site study or a look without actually doing the archaeological study. And they do that in-house and then they remove it.
But see,
Go ahead,
that
Councillor
saves
Spicer.
the applicant from spending money.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so.
But they do give you that provision.
Right, go ahead, Barry.
So who would have to make that appeal to get that extinguished from the requirements?
Yourself.
Council or myself?
If we leave it in,
If you take it out, do I have to make an appeal to? No? Okay.
No.
You,
okay, I have a resolution. Go ahead, Councillor Vazarowicz. There is a friendly amendment on the
Yeah.
floor taking condition 5 out.
if planning, we take it out, but if planning puts it back in, then the
Then,
applicant would
yes,
have to
exactly,
make the appeal. So-
yeah, exactly, then Mr. Yuski would have to go appeal. So,
And,
go ahead,
and in your paperwork here, there's a name who to contact.
Yes.
okay, I have a resolution on the floor with a friendly amendment that both the mover and the seconder have agreed to, and that is to remove condition 5, which is the Manitoba Historic Resources Branch. And as was said, the planning board still has the opportunity to put that condition back in when it comes for final approval at Red River Planning Board. So with that, I have a mover, I have a seconder, we're taking condition 5 out, and I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So basically, Barry, what you got is your one lot on where the home is and your other 2 on the other side. No archaeological dig, but if planning puts it back, you may have to appeal that one on your own.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much for your time, Council.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have nothing else on planning issues this evening. So we are going to go in camera. So if there's nothing else, see you.
Let's just find out who put together so much.
We're just gonna give Colin a couple of minutes there to pack up.
It's so frustrating.
Well, I don't know, I think that we should be, sorry that I
Well, that's
labored all that, I think that we should be consistent.
Well, I-
Like, if we're not on the river, let's get it on.
The only thing, he is on the river though.
He's far away.
Well, 600, but when they look at it, just from experience,
I'm not saying
my
that.
past life.
Okay, can we get back to the meeting here because we are being recorded? And Heather is asking if we can pass the resolution to go in camera. Okay, resolve that we move into camera. Moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Councillor Spicer, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
See ya.
See you, Pawan. You can discontinue for now the recording, please, Heather.
I was just about to pull up the resolution for you, Madam Mayor.
Oh. It's okay. Oh, Heather's still going like this.
Close the license, that figure.
Shut up, she's still. Oh, this one needs